Let's build a mid-range PC. I built it already, but you know. So is it me, or does it feel like PC components have become like super expensive in the past few years? What I mean is that newer parts have been getting more and more expensive, and I swear it's not just because of inflation. I mean, think about it this way. Back when I was in high school, the GTX 1080 Ti came out, and this was the enthusiast card. As in, this was the one that only YouTubers or like older people or people who are super enthusiastic about PC parts and gaming. But as a 17-year-old, I really could not imagine ever having the luxury of getting a GPU that costs $700. But nowadays, the enthusiast level cards like the 4080 Super can cost you at least $1,000. And we're not even talking about the 4090 that starts at $1,600. Like, that's a $900 difference between that and the 1080 Ti. But when I say mid-range components or mid-range PC, I'm not saying the average person should have a PC like this. This is kind of an overkill in my opinion. I mean, day-to-day stuff, most people still play on 1080p, and for 1440p games, you do not have to max out everything. You can just play on low to medium settings and you'll be fine, right? I mean, for this computer alone, it costs over $1,600 if you're following along with every single component I chose. Obviously, there are parts that you guys could, change, as in your case, your AIO, cheaper maybe RAM, stuff like that. But overall, most people don't have $1,600 lying around to just buy a PC, especially for gaming, right?
Hey, editing Seong here, just a voice, but while I'm editing this, I just realized how much of an importance it is for me to stress that gaming is a luxury. If you guys don't feel comfortable buying new parts or expensive parts, please don't feel pressured to. And I know that we live in a world where we're constantly pressured to buy, but please understand that you do not need the newest and the best if you cannot afford it. It is a luxury. Other things come first.
But one thing about mid-range PC that I like to keep in mind is that it is supposed to be for 1440p gaming. It doesn't have to be crushing at like 300 FPS at 1440p max settings, but you should be able to play most games at 1440p at a very decent frame rate. Obviously, this really depends on the game itself too. This isn't really meant for 4K resolution gaming, but it should still be playable to a point. I don't have a 4K monitor, so I can't really test that for you guys, but people have done it before. Also, quick disclaimer, I just want to be as transparent as possible. For this specific build that I have right there, all the parts were sent by ASUS for like a different video for my short, but I can be as honest as possible. But because I know and I understand that it's really hard to 100% trust people online, even if they're not being paid to promote a product, just the fact that they're receiving it from a brand, there should be some skepticism for you guys to have on people like us. But that's why I'm going to be giving you guys alternatives. And again, I'll try to stay very objective, as in like, I'll only state the facts. Maybe I'll give you my opinion here and there, but I won't say this is the best or this is my favorite. I'll stay away from those kind of vocabulary. Again, I'll be giving alternatives to some of the components so that you guys have, And I also welcome criticism about stuff like this. So I'll see you in the comments. When it came to the CPU, I did choose to stick with AM5, and there's a lot of different CPUs you can use from here. But I did choose the Ryzen 7 7700X.
But a good cheaper alternative to this would be the Ryzen 5 7600X. And when you're comparing that with the Ryzen 7 7700X that I went with, you actually won't see that big of a performance in a lot of games. But since both of these are 2-year-old CPUs, even the 7700X can be found under 300 like I did.
And yes, this is the predecessor of the Ryzen 7 9700X.
But when I was buying the CPU, the price differences were a lot higher.
Although if thermals and power efficiency is important to you, the 9700X is by far a better CPU. The GPU we're using is the ASUS Dual RTX 4070 Super. And before people say that's not a mid-range GPU, it is. I had a lot of people in the comments going back and forth about, is the 4060 not mid-range anymore? The 4060 is not mid-range, but with all the strong graphics cards that are available, this is still considered a mid-range GPU. But I'm sticking with the NVIDIA card because we could use DLSS frame generation and upscaling and the Unreal ray tracing capabilities that NVIDIA cards have. But again, some alternatives to this would be AMD's Radeon RX 7800 XT, which is actually a bit cheaper. Again, it's up to you. This is You could do. You don't have to follow me. I don't want all of us to have the same PC. Now, the motherboard is actually something you should probably spend less money on because this beast is the Tough Gaming X870 Plus Wi-Fi. And this motherboard just made sense to me, personally, for myself, because I make content and I test different parts. But for 99% of you, go and look for some B650 motherboards. Make sure they have Wi-Fi if you need it. There's a lot available out there that you don't need to spend hundreds of dollars on. And by the way, if you guys are wondering what those letters and numbers mean next to the motherboards, there's gonna be links to videos and people who are just smarter and just better at explaining these kind of things than I am. So I'll link that there, maybe over here. I don't know how to do it yet. For RAM, I personally picked up 32 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM, clocking at 6400 mega transfers per second from Corsair. I got these specific ones because one, I wanted the RGB. But most importantly, I do think that 30 gigabytes is soon going to be the new 16 gigabyte RAM size. You don't need to go this high, but I would recommend staying around 32 gigabytes. But also, we just spent $600 on the GPU alone. Just spend an extra $30 having 32, it's fine.
And again, great alternatives could be looking at some G-Skill or Team Group. There's a lot of different brands for this. It's not that big of a deal.
The AIO to cool the 7700X is the LC2360 ARGB from Tough Gaming again. And since we are using Asus's platform, it's really easy to set up the fans and the colors and everything like that, the RGB. And especially because when we get to the case, you'll see in a second, I mean, it just syncs up really nicely. But some alternative AIO brands, Corsair again, very good. GAMDS I've used was amazing. And these all fit perfectly in the Tough Gaming GT302 ARGB.
This case has a detachable top panel, which allows you to install the AIO really easily, 4 RGB fans included. The glass panel can be replaced with a mesh panel for better airflow, and it's all for $150.
And for the past few weeks of utilizing this PC, airflow is not a problem, overheating is not really a problem. But this also has 2 USB-A 3.0 ports in the front with the USB-C port as well, which helps with editing off of an external SSD. And again, as a creator, this is really important to me. For you guys, it might not be, but having USB-C is so nice.
And alternative ATX cases you can get are like the Corsair 4000D Airflow, the N60H9 Flow, and more budget ones are like the Montec X3 Mesh, and cases from GAMDS are all good choices, okay?
And lastly, powering all this is the 850 watts PSU from Asus Prime. This is more than enough for a build like this, and even if I upgrade to a 4080 Super, it still will be enough with all the components to run that. And that's pretty much it. I'm pretty happy with the outcome. There's enough wiggle room to kind of upgrade in the future-proof. But how does it game? Well, esports titles are always going to be easy, even at 1440p. And for example, Fortnite at medium settings can get around 340 FPS easily. And a game like Valorant is even easier. It's very CPU intensive, but we can get around 560 FPS. But if we look at higher intensive games like Cyberpunk, for example, I'm able to run extreme settings, everything on, with DLSS on as well, we are getting around 48 FPS. One game I've been obsessed with lately has to be Watch Dogs 2. No, I haven't really done a lot of missions. I've been just going around like pew-pewing everyone. But even at the highest settings, we're able to get like 125 FPS. But lastly, a racing game, woohoo, the Forza Horizon game, at extreme setting, we are able to get 150. Now, this is the power of a mid-range PC. 1440p, easy. Cyberpunk, sure, 60, 50 FPS, it's not bad. But, okay, it's still, it's a mid-range. But whenever I Google like really nice PC setups, I always see ultra-wide gaming setups. And I wanted to show you guys what that would be like, to run a PC like this on an ultra-wide setup. And one thing you should know is that ultra-wide monitors actually do have a different resolution, so it could affect your overall performance in game.
But I've actually never owned the ultra-wide before.
But weirdly enough, I'm now in a position where I could email a couple companies and ask them if I could borrow something. And
okay.
Is this not the right resolution?
So it seems like the first company made an honest mistake and sent out the wrong monitor.
But I do need the right monitor for this, so I'm gonna reach out again to another monitor brand. If I could get a confirmation that I can do it, then yes, good. You'll see it coming up. If not, this is where the video ends, or I do my conclusion, okay? All right, a few days later, we did it. MSI actually came in clutch and sent out one of their OLED ultra-wide monitors. I'll make a video on this in the future. But now we can test out how this PC could perform when it comes to ultra-wide 1440p monitors. This monitor has a resolution of 5120 by 1440p, I need my notes for this part, but compared to a traditional 1440p monitor, we're looking at over twice the amount of pixels, so 7.3 million pixels for ultra-wide here, compared to a 3.7 million pixels that are seen by a normal 1440p monitor. So a lot more pixels for the GPU to handle, right? In Cyberpunk, we were seeing around 85 FPS on all medium settings with the normal 1440p monitor, but in ultra-wide like this, it actually reduces to around 68 to 69. And to run one more test, I did try out Forza Horizon 5 utilizing the ultra-wide monitor, and this is so cool, being able to play like this and drive. But if you remember correctly, using the ultra preset, we were getting around 150 FPS on the normal monitor, but with the ultra-wide, we actually reduced that FPS to just above 100 FPS. So I gave up around a third of my FPS to have this kind of experience, and I'm down for it. This is insane. I see everything. Now, did I spend a few days trying to get this ultra wide here to do a 4-minute portion of this entire video? Yes. Do I regret it? No. I hope you guys enjoy this part. But overall, for a majority of people, a PC like this is an overkill. I mean, you could build a 1440p or a 1080p PC for a lot less, but overall, this type of PC will have no problem running most games at good settings at this resolution. If you want to check out anything that I've mentioned in this video, I finally got the Amazon link. I think, I'm not 100% sure if they work, so cha-ching! Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.